I wanted to share one of the more advanced teachings from Gurdjieff and Nicoll with you today. And it's around the topic of identity and being over-identified and escaping that. And he makes reference here to some musical notes and some of the work that Gurdjieff, Nicoll, and Ouspensky presented back in the early 1900s. They used music as a way to illustrate how some of these ideas connected with each other and how the evolution of and progression of man and his inner life, his spiritual life, could progress. So bear with me. I think it might just be worth it. This is from Psychological Commentaries on the Teaching of Gurdjieff and Ouspensky, Volume 5, and it's the talk entitled Me 12, and it was given by Nicoll back in March 15th, 1952. I'm Roach, Mark Roach, and I'm here to bring some different perspectives to you, maybe to give you a chance to break out of your mold, find more uniqueness, and enhance your life. So let me quote from Nicoll here. If we could act consciously in every situation, we would not internally consider. Internal considering sends us to sleep more than anything. It wastes energy. If we could externally consider only, it would save energy. If we could act consciously in every situation, we would create energy. To act consciously would mean to act without identifying. Identification leads to unconscious action. To act consciously in every situation would be to act without identification. To act without identification is one way to give oneself the first conscious shock. To give oneself the first conscious shock is to create energy. Two new energies are thereby formed in the human machine. The energy 24 at the early potential stage, denoted by Ray, that's RE, and energy 12 at the note of me, MI. These two newly created energies appearing in the machine by reason of the first conscious shock being given strongly affect the working of the emotional and sex centers, respectively. The energies Fa 24 and Sol 12 are also created. You will notice their octave position is not so potential as Ray 24 and Me 12, but they also influence the emotional and sex centers, altering the quality of their working. The hydrogen C12, produced by the mechanical shock of breathing, by its position in the octave, has the least potential for development, that is, for differentiation. It is old, so to speak, and more fixed. It has the least youth. The creation of these new energies, not present in the mechanical and sensual-minded man, has to do with the ultimate transformation of the sex center into the higher emotional center, and its very gradual withdrawing from the instinctive center and identifying in the negative states and self-emotions that characterize the working of the emotional center. All three energies, 12, can become hydrogen 6 under the pulsation of the second conscious shock, which makes contact with the higher center gradually possible. For the second conscious shock to begin to act in you, me 12 must be present in sufficient amounts and retain at the wanted times. Here we miss much by sleep and habit. I mean, we're not watching, not sensitive internally. There is a turning wheel of opportunities, and some opportunity is not noticed when we are being helped. None of these conditions, of course, will be fulfilled if a person is chronically negative and identified or will not see insincerity. A bad fault or follows appetite, and the self only does not, in short, work. In that case, none of the special energy me 12 will be created, and the work will not help. He will see nothing extraordinary in life. He will have no vision of the work. He will not transform any impression, and will continue in the odors of the sensual mind and the dead works. It is quite useless asking me questions about the second conscious shock. I say to you only that it is impossible to understand anything about it until me 12 is present and stored enough in you. In brief, you must give yourself the first conscious shock before you can get to know the nature of the second conscious shock, and to get to know what is and what it's all about in many aspects, and so create the me 12 and prevent it from falling downwards into the sensual level until it shows you the direction of the second conscious shock. For like Joseph, it can interpret Pharaoh's dreams. Now, to remember yourself in endless different situations is good. Also to act more consciously, which can only begin with noticing mechanical reactions after they have taken place and remembering them, and then acting differently. It is very good work indeed. As was said, that would be giving or seeking to give oneself the first conscious shock. I've watched it being done, but people stay in their dreary, outworn psychological clothes, in their reactions, and they cling to them. To remember oneself is surely not to remember these garments. By doing that, I fancy not a trace of the presence of me 12 will ever be found in you. That lovely youth will avoid you like poison. So we have to think about the first conscious shock and its primary importance in the work, for without me 12, there's little change of being. I have said I speak only of the first conscious shock. In this connection, I will add that people here must not be satisfied to remain as they are. There is far too much self-complacency or indifference. Consider carefully if you are not, at bottom, satisfied with yourself as you are, and only would like another car. It is not necessary to point out that you are satisfied. Any attempt at self-remembering that you make will go and make you still more satisfied with yourself as you are. The adoration of this mess called oneself is the most commonest and most binding and limited religion. It is accomplished by often very funny rites. But it is inadvisable to make fun here. We explode, we flush, we pale, we are furious, and we never forgive. What a state we are in without exception. Yet, even so, it is possible to work, and to work afresh, and often at the first conscious shock, and to discover it for ourselves as we are at our particular stage. Our very violence indeed provided us the material for self-remembering. We surely cannot remain satisfied with ourselves after slowly perceiving these unstable foundations, our ramshackle being, which the least person in the kingdom of heaven could cause to blow up with a trifling remark. Yes, we sorely need to be born anew, and not of blood and flesh this time, but of water and spirit. That would mean another and quite new foundation, and so a new man. The work is all about this step. I'm Roach, Mark Roach, wishing you all the best.